Hello everyone. Today we are going to be talking about reading a ruler. This is an important skill in basically any trade, and especially in this class, when we get to working in the lab, you'll be reading a ruler basically every day. So, for those of you that already know how to read a ruler, that's great. If you have a method for reading the ruler that works for you, feel free to keep using that method. As long as you can get the right measurement every time, that's all I care about. But if you've had trouble reading a ruler before, or you don't know how to read a ruler, I'm going to show you a method for reading a ruler that I find to be pretty easy and I think will be beneficial to you. Alright, so this is a ruler. Most rulers go to 12 inches. This is just a short little 6-inch one. The method we're going to be learning is called the line length method. It's based on the lengths of the lines, because if you look at this ruler, you'll notice that all of the lines are different lengths. That's what makes it easy to read. We are going to start with just looking at 0 to 1 inch, because everything after that is exactly the same. You're just putting a number in front of it. So right here we have a piece of a ruler that has 0 and it has 1 whole inch. The whole inches will always be the longest lines on your ruler. Now, we're going to take that whole inch and break it in half. The longest line in between your whole inches is always going to be 1/2. That's the one thing you have to just know in order to use this method. You're always going to have your longest lines, and then the next line in between will always be that 1/2. Then, after that, we're going to divide it in half again. Now, to figure out what those are, you may already know them, but if not, to figure it out, all you have to do is divide that fraction in half. I know, dividing fractions is not easy, but there is an easy way to do it. The easy way to divide any fraction in half is double the bottom number. So in this case, we have 1/2. If you double that bottom number, 2 times 2 gives you 4. So those will be some number of fourths. And then you can keep going. 1/2 of a fourth, 4 times 2 gives you eighths. 1/2 an eighth, 8 times 2 gives you 16ths, so on and so forth. Now, for now, we're just looking at our fourths. So we know each of those lines is some number of fourths. Then, to find the top number, we're going to count all of the lines the same length as that line by odds. So we're only looking for the lines that are that tall. Anything taller than that or shorter than that, we don't care about. We're only looking for the ones that length. And we're counting by odd numbers. So your odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, 7, so on and so forth. So the first one is 1, the second one is 3. And then we have 1/4 and 3/4. Next, we'll divide it again. And again, to find the bottom number, we just double the bottom number from the previous one. So 1/2 the fourth, 4 times 2 gives us 8. That's a terrible 8. 8. So all of those are going to be some number of eighths. And then again, to figure out the top number, you're just counting all of the lines that length by odds. So you have 1, 3, 5, 7. The lines that are taller don't count, so we ignore them. And then again, we can go one step further. We'll divide those in half again, and again, we're doubling that bottom number, so we end up with 16ths. Because 8 times 2 is 16. So you end up with 16ths. All of these are going to be 16ths. And then, once we know our bottom number, what are we doing to find the top? Again, we're counting by odds. So we have 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, and 15. Now, we could keep going. You just keep doubling that bottom number. So 1/2 the 16th, you put another line in there, that would be a 32nd. 1/2 of that, 64th. 128th, 256th, so on and so forth. But really, on a real ruler, anything beyond a 16th gets difficult to read, and anything beyond a 32nd or a 64th is basically impossible. So for most rulers, they're only going to 16ths, and for our purposes in this class, we're only going to worry about 16ths. All right, now, time to practice. So we want to find the measurement shown by the green arrow. To do this, you're first going to find your bottom number. So we write our fraction. Now, to find our bottom number, we start with our tallest line between the whole inches. So you have your 0 and your 1, that's the whole inches, and you want to look for the tallest line between them, which is right there. So we know that line is our half. Then we're just counting down the lengths to figure out the bottom number. So the bottom number of the half is 2, and then the next longest line would be there, would be fourths. The next longest line would be eighths. So you know that is some number of eighths. You notice when I'm counting down my lines, I'm always moving towards the line I'm trying to find the measurement for. So when I went from my half to my fourth, I could have gone this one to the fourth because those are the same length, but that's moving further away. So I want to go to whichever one is closer to the measurement I'm trying to find. Then, once we know our bottom number, we need to find our top number. And again, to find the top number, we're counting by odds, but only the lines the same length as the one we're trying to find. Anything shorter or taller than that doesn't matter. So, this line doesn't matter because it's taller. This line doesn't matter because it's shorter. Only the ones that same length. So we have 1, 3, and then 5. So that is 5/8 inches. Make sure you always label your measurement. It's one of those things where you have to label your measurement so people know what you're talking about. We can talk more about that later, but in this class, you have to label your measurement. If you don't, I will take off. All right, next. Oh, skipped ahead. Oh, I didn't. Okay. Come on. There we go. So, next, we're going to find that measurement. And again, we follow the same procedure. So we start with our bottom number. We know the longest line in between the whole inches is the half, and then fourths, eighths, sixteenths. So we know that is some number of sixteenths. Then, to find our top number, again, we're counting by odds. So we have 1, 3, 5, 7. You'll notice again, I'm only counting the lines that same length. In this case, the sixteenths are our shortest lines, so we just count all the shortest lines. But you may run across a ruler that has 30 seconds marked. So be careful. You can't always assume that the shortest line are sixteenths. Even though we won't use anything smaller than sixteenths, you may still get a ruler that has something smaller than sixteenths marked on it. And again, I labeled my measurement. All right, this one, go ahead, pause the video right here, see if you can figure out what this is. All right, let's see if you were right. We are going to start with our bottom number. So again, we started our half, then fourths, eighths, sixteenths. So again, that's some number of sixteenths. And then we're going to find our bottom number by counting by odds, or our top number, sorry. So we have 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13. So that is 13/16 inches. All right, a couple more. This one, same method. Go ahead and pause for just a second, see if you can figure it out, and then start the video again to see if you were right. All right, so our bottom number, we start with our half, and then fourths, and then eighths, and oh, we're stopping at eighths because we don't need to go any further. So we have our eighths, and then we're counting by odds. That's the first one that length, so it is 1/8 of an inch. And one more. see if you can figure out what this is. Again, I'll give you pause the video and then you can check your answer. All right. So you have your bottom number, first of all, halves, fourths, eighths, so sixteenths. Again, that's some number of sixteenths. And then to find our top number, we have 1, 3, 5. 5/16. Now, if you said 5/16 inches, you are wrong. You always have to look at the rest of your ruler. In this case, we're not between 0 and 1, we're between 2 and 3. So that is 2 and 5/16 inches. That's all there is to it when you get further down the ruler. You just plop whatever number's in front of your fraction, and you are ready to go. That's basically it for ruler reading. If you need any help, please ask. Like I said, this is something you are going to be doing every day. So you want to make sure you know what you're doing. Otherwise, you are going to struggle the entire rest of the semester. On Google Classroom, you'll find some practice sheets. Go ahead, get those done. And again, if you're having trouble with them, please ask. I am happy to walk you through it again, get you some extra practice, whatever you need to make sure that you understand this. Have a good day.